Marcus Allen came to USC as a defensive back, switched to fullback, blocked for Charles White, and waited for his turn. Then 1981 hit, taking over as a lead back, and Allen ran wild like someone finally handed him the keys to the kingdom. That year, he became the first player in NCAA history to rush for over 2,000 yards in a season. Final total, 2,427 yards in 11 games. He started the season with 5 straight 200-yard games. Nobody had done that before. Nobody's done it since. The streak felt made up then, as it feels even crazier now. He hit 200-plus yards in 8 games, more than Barry Sanders did during his legendary 1988 season. But Allen didn't need to match flash. He just dominated through rhythm, patient vision, punishing cuts, and legs that didn't stop running until the whistle was blown. His 1981 campaign earned him the Heisman Trophy. But that was just Chapter 1. He's the only player in history to win a national title, a Heisman, a Super Bowl MVP, and an NFL MVP. One of one. He racked up 403 carries that year and still averaged over 5.6 yards per run. Defenses knew it was coming, but they couldn't stop it. He dropped 289 yards on Oregon State like it was practice. And against everyone else? Same story, just different jerseys. Before the MVPs and Super Bowl parades in Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes went full God mode in Lubbock. It was October 22, 2016, Texas Tech versus Oklahoma. The final score was 66-59, but the numbers inside that chaos were unreal. Mahomes was banged up, a separated throwing shoulder, fractured left wrist, but still played like physics didn't apply to him. He threw the ball 88 times, completed 52nd, finished with 734 passing yards and 5 touchdowns. Oh, and 85 rushing yards and 2 more scores. That's 819 total yards, the most in FBS history by a single player. No overtime, no gimmicks, just a man torching defenses with one working arm. It was a duel with Baker Mayfield, his former teammate, now leading Oklahoma. Mayfield threw for 545 yards and 7 touchdowns, but Mahomes, he was dragging an entire offense by himself. Snap after snap, no huddle, all gas. The two teams combined for 1,708 yards, which is still an NCAA record. Texas Tech didn't win. But Mahomes didn't lose either. He turned that field into a launch pad. Every drive was a fireworks show. Scrambles, deep bombs, broken plays turned into 40-yard gains. And he never came out. Not until the game ended. Cliff Kingsbury, his coach, just stood back and watched. "We'll never see that again," he said. Mahomes broke the record with one arm taped up and the other rewriting what a quarterback could do. Watching Barry run was like watching fast forward in real time. In 1988, as a junior at Oklahoma State, Sanders dropped the most insane season a running back's ever had. 2,628 rushing yards in 11 games. Not 14. Not including bowls, just 11. No one's matched that in the same window, not even close. 4 games with 300-plus yards. That's total domination. And when the regular season ended, he kept going on. In the Holiday Bowl, he added 222 more yards and 5 touchdowns against Wyoming. But since bowl stats didn't count back then, the NCAA left it out. If they hadn't, his real total would be 2,850 yards with 43 touchdowns. On the ground, in one season. He averaged 238.9 rushing yards per game, a number that feels impossible in today's game. For comparison, Ashton Gianti came close in the 2024 season, but needed 14 games to get to 2,601. Sanders did it in 11. His play style? One cut and he was gone. Defenders thought they had him. Then he'd teleport into the second level and leave them chasing shadows. He wasn't big, but he was untouchable. Feet like quicksand, vision like a drone, and balance that made gravity give up. Only Marcus Allen and Ed Marinaro have even come close to averaging 200-plus yards per game in a season. Barry didn't just cross that line. He burned it behind him. That 1988 run? Still untouchable. Still unreal. Still Barry. Archie Griffin did not only have a great season, but also he doubled it. Back to back. No one else has done it. Not before him, not since. In 1974, Griffin ran for 1,577 yards, scored 12 touchdowns, and carried Ohio State to a 10-1 record and a number 1. Third national ranking. He played clean, smart, and tough. No wasted steps. Just north-south punishment and the occasional juke to let defenders know it wasn't personal. Just business. He won the Heisman Trophy. Everyone figured that was the peak. Then came 1975. More carries, more production, more control. Griffin stayed consistent while everyone else chased hype. He didn't chase numbers, he stacked wins. He finished with over 1,400 yards, stayed a leader in every locker room, and made the Heisman voters do something they've never done before. Hand it to the same guy again and again and again. He became the only player in history to win 2 Heismans, a record untouched for nearly 50 years. And here's the thing, he did it in a run-heavy era where defenses loaded the box and dared him to break through anyway. He played in 4 straight Rose Bowls, never dipped below 1,400 yards after his freshman year, and finished with over 5,500 career rushing yards. No transfer portal, no NIL distractions. Just yards, grit, and a gold standard for consistency. In 1950, the game was rough, muddy, and straight-up brutal. But that didn't stop Ken Johnson from finding the end zone like it had his name on it. Playing for Abilene Christian, Johnson scored 39 touchdowns in just 11 games, setting a college football record that still hasn't been conquered. This wasn't some wide-open modern spread offense. This was old-school, run-first football where blocking was raw, substitutions were minimal, and everyone was playing both ways. And still, he scored almost 4 touchdowns per game. Clean, efficient, unstoppable. Johnson didn't just break the plane. He broke defenses. Week after week, he'd line up, take the handoff, and punch in scores like he was clocking in for work. His balance, burst, and feel for the hole turned average plays into damage. What makes it wilder? He did it before national TV, before highlight tapes, and long before the transfer portal or NIL deals. There was no spotlight, just football and a guy who treated scoring like a habit. Today's backs have longer seasons, more games, and high-scoring offenses built to spread it around. But no one's hit 39 touchdowns since. Not even Barry Sanders. Johnson's record isn't just old, it's untouchable. In a game that's changed 100 different ways since. Ken Johnson's 1950 season still sits quietly at the top of the mountain. 1 year, 39 trips to the end zone, and a legacy built before stats even went viral. Tom Dempsey didn't line up like other kickers. He didn't walk the same, didn't kick the same, didn't even wear a full shoe. Born without toes on his right foot and fingers on his right hand, Dempsey had a custom-built, square-toed shoe and a leg that could send the ball into space. It was November 8th, 1970. The Saints were down 17-16 to the Detroit Lions. 2 seconds left. Ball spotted at the Saints' own 37-yard line. That's a 63-yard field goal attempt, longer than anyone had ever hit in the NFL. And Dempsey made it look easy. He stepped into it and crushed it. Straight, true, and clean. The ball had lift and did not slow. It cleared the crossbar with room to spare. That kick broke the NFL record and stood for 43 years, tied by names like Jason Elam and Sebastian Janikowski, but never truly beaten until 2021. People didn't believe it when they saw it. He wasn't some star from a powerhouse program. He played at Palomar College and later San Diego State. But when the game was on the line, Tom Dempsey rewrote the book. 1 leg, 1 swing, 1 historic boot. Still one of the most iconic kicks football's ever seen. Antonio Perkins didn't have a return game. He had a highlight reel with a scoreboard attached. September 20th, 2003. Oklahoma versus UCLA in Norman. The Sooners were already stacked, but UCLA kept giving Perkins chances. Big mistake. What he did that afternoon made special teams look like cheating. He returned 3 punts for touchdowns. Not 1, not 2, 3. First was 84 yards, gliding through traffic like he had GPS. Then 74, untouched like he hit the turbo button. Then 65 with less than 3 minutes left, just for the exclamation point. At that point, the Bruins should have just punted it into the parking lot. Perkins finished with 277 punt return yards, breaking a record that had stood since 1971. And that wasn't on a bunch of lucky bounces. He read blocks, weaved through chaos, and outran angles like they weren't real. That total? Still the most in NCAA history for a single game. He was a cornerback, not a gadget guy. Played under Bob Stoops, anchored the secondary, and just happened to be the most dangerous guy on the field when the ball went up. The last return came when the game was already cooked, 59-24. But Perkins wasn't done. He took that last one just to make it official. 3 scores, 3 bombs, and a number that's still sitting alone in the record books. By the end, UCLA had no answer. And college football had a new rule. Don't kick it to Antonio Perkins, ever. Derrick Thomas didn't rush the passer, he hunted. And in 1988, quarterbacks across the SEC were just targets waiting to get swallowed up. Playing for Alabama, Thomas racked up a mind-blowing 27 sacks in just 11 games. Add in 39 tackles for loss, and you start to understand why offensive coordinators were losing sleep every week. He wasn't just getting home, he was living in the backfield. But here's the catch. Sacks weren't even an official NCAA stat back then, so the record books pretend it didn't happen. The official FBS record belongs to Terrell Suggs, who had 24 sacks in 2002. That's 3 fewer than Thomas, with more games played, in a more pass-heavy era. And still, no one's hit 20 sacks in a season in the last 20 years. In 2023, the national leader had 17. Thomas did that in a month. He was SEC Defensive Player of the Year, a unanimous All-American, and the most feared player in the country. And it didn't stop in college. He went on to dominate in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs, where he once had 7 sacks in a single game, an NFL record that still stands. Thomas finished his Alabama career with 52 sacks. He was chaos wrapped in shoulder pads. He died in 2000 after a tragic car accident at age 33. But that 1988 season, it's still whispered in SEC locker rooms like folklore. No stat sheet needed, just tape and fear. October 21st, 1989. Houston versus SMU. One team was coming off the NCAA's death penalty. The other had Andre Ware in full gunslinger mode. This wasn't a game, it was a televised demolition. Southern Methodist University was rebuilding, fielding a roster full of freshmen and sophomores. Houston didn't care, and head coach Jack Pardee definitely didn't hit the brakes. Andre Ware came out firing from the jump. In the first quarter alone, he threw for 340 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's 4 possessions and a highlight reel. By halftime, he had stacked 25 completions on 41 attempts, 517 passing yards, and 6 touchdowns in one half. He didn't play a single down after that. Final score, 95-21. Ware went to the locker room early, and the NCAA record book followed him in. It was controlled chaos, snap, read, fire. SMU had no answer, no adjustments, just receivers streaking free and Ware delivering heat every few seconds. The Cougars were on probation that year too, but they played like a team with nothing to lose. Forrest Gregg, SMU's head coach, wasn't happy. He called it a run-up. But Houston had no chill, and Ware was deep into his Heisman campaign. That year he threw for 4,699 yards and 46 touchdowns in just 11 games. The system was fast. Ware was faster. That one half? It's still the most passing yards in a half in NCAA history. It was reckless, efficient, brutal football, and it never needed a second act. Cory Davis didn't play for Alabama or Ohio State. He played for Western Michigan, a MAC school where the spotlight rarely stays long. But from 2013 to 2016, Davis carved his name into FBS history one route at a time, quietly, brutally, and without needing a single transfer. He stepped on campus as a true freshman and instantly cooked corners for 941 yards. Then he followed that with 3 straight 1,400-yard seasons. No drop-off, no sophomore slump. Just crisp routes, contested grabs, and yards after catch like he was gliding. He didn't miss time. He didn't leave early. He stayed all 4 seasons, and by the time he was done, he had 5,285 career receiving yards, more than anyone in FBS history. Over 1,000 yards more than legends like Larry Fitzgerald or Michael Crabtree ever reached. He's still one of only 2 players to break 5,000 yards, and in today's era, where top receivers bounce after 3 years or hit the transfer portal, it might never happen again. Davis didn't chase flash, he just produced, every game, every season. He helped take Western Michigan to a perfect 13-0 regular season in 2016, a MAC championship, and a Cotton Bowl appearance. His hands were sure, his footwork sharp, and his stat sheet? Unbreakable. Cory Davis didn't need a Power 5 pipeline. He just needed the ball and space. The rest was history.